Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Syndicate. Mark here with a brand new Twin Suns deck for you this week, and a slightly special treat, because not only am I going to have it on the desktop of my computer, but I'm going to have it on my physical desktop, because I actually made this deck yesterday to play in a pop-up Twin Suns webcam event with a couple of friends from our server. Link to the server in the Discord. Fair warning, it is a large server, lots and lots of people in it, and the Twin Suns and Star Wars Unlimited section is under the general gaming section. It is a religious server. I'm a pastor, but we'd love to have you come over and play some Twin Suns with us. If you would like to come over and play Twin Suns with us over there, once again, link is in the description. Before I jump into this, guys, we are like 9 subs as of the recording of this video from hitting 100 subs. So if you have not subbed yet, would you please consider doing so? I put out, or try to put out, a Twin Suns deck each week. And with no further ado, I am going to go ahead and show you this week's Twin Sun deck. And in this case, we're going to go ahead and go to the desktop, which I'm really excited about. Try to look up the camera as much as I possibly can. This week, we're running a deck called The Family That Hunts Together Stays Together, as we are playing the father-son duo again this week. Keeping it together, we did Anakin and Luke last week. This week, Boba and Jango Fett, along with City in the Clouds, or, pick your favorite 30 health blue base, up to you. Real quick, let's go through these. Boba Fett just reads, when you deal non-combat damage, this does not need to be indirect damage, but it can be. You can exhaust Boba to do 1 indirect damage to a player. Of course, indirect damage is non-preventable, goes through shields, but does not break shields, and the opponent decides where that damage goes, can go to one of their units or their base. It adds a little bit of damage. When he flips, he comes out on 6 as a 4/7, and trying to keep the glare off these cases here, guys. And then also when he's deployed as an upgrade, he gives a vehicle +4/+4, and he also deals 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of units. That is really strong in Twin Suns. Jango, when a friendly unit deals damage to an enemy unit, you can exhaust Jango to exhaust that unit. This will work if you have a single instance of indirect damage that's dealing damage to a bunch of stuff. You can exhaust him and exhaust all of those things that are getting hit with the indirect damage. On his flip side, he comes out on 5 as a 3/7, and it does the same thing. He simply doesn't need to exhaust to be able to do it. Now, I considered playing a yellow base with this and going double yellow. Once again, I'm not sure how viable that is, but I do think that double yellow, out of all of the double aspects, is probably the closest thing to worth being, worth running right now, at least, inside of Twin Suns. I considered green as well. I think that green gives you access to things like Maul. It gives you access to things like Vader, but in the end of the day, blue is my sweet spot, and it's my favorite, faction or killer in the game right now. I just love Vigilance. I like having a couple of hard control options, and I love having a super laser blast in my deck, so we went with City in the Clouds. Now, on top of that, I get to show off a little bit of my actual physical collection today, which I'm really excited about, because that's sometimes more fun than just looking at all of the cards standard on the screen. Oh, hold up. Let's change that up. In our 1-drops, we're only running 1 unit in 1-drops, and that is the First Order Stormtrooper. 1 resource, 2/1, new card on attack, and when defeated, deal 1 indirect damage to a player. Of course, triggers with Boba and with Jango if they decide to deal that damage to a unit, and it can deal 2 indirect damage with Boba Fett, which is great. From there, for our actions, we are playing Daring Raid, McClunky Swoop Down, and Close the Shield Gate. I like Close the Shield Gate just because I like it. You might not like it. You can get rid of it if you don't like it. You'll probably see some cards that are in this deck that you don't like, that you kind of wish I would have done something else with. I just have a personal soft spot for Close the Shield Gate in Twin Sun specifically, because it messes up math potentially. Swoop Down, because we are playing a good many space units in this deck, and I want the ability to be able to trade lanes, and it does seem like, especially from my game last night, this is more polarized than ever. There was times when 3 of us were in ground and 1 of us was in space, and 3 of us were in space and 1 of us were in ground in my game last night, which I did not win, by the way. I think I came in basically second. But yeah, so, and then McClunky and Daring Raid are just quick removal. We are running a lot of our friendly bounty hunters in this deck, which also oftentimes have the underworld keyword for McClunky and Daring Raid. Of course, they both interact with both Boba and Jango Fett. Well, let's get this out of the way. We're only running one upgrade in the one slot, and this is really a three cost upgrade because we're always going to play this out of Smuggle. Now, in terms of our 2-drops, once again, just love that I can put these all out. Oh my gosh, guys, so many 2-drops. So let's just go through them really quick. Piercing, I think this guy's better in Twin Suns because he gets less aggro. Inferno 4, so we have something to drop our pilots on, but also it's really valuable to be able to look at the top 2 and decide what to do with them in Twin Suns, because you only have one of every card. Kylo's Die Silencer, just because it's a 3/2 in space for 2. The Onyx Brute, a 2/3 in space for 2 that heals you 2 when it dies. I like that a lot. Also, this is just a 2/3 in space for 2. We're really looking at targets to be able to get a pilot on, potentially round 2, round 3. But also, it's more common that this will actually come into play readied at some point in the game, because it's common for your opponents in Twin Suns for someone to be out maneuvering you. By the way, I love Crafty Smuggler and Hyperfoil. 2/2 with shield, just too good not to have in there. Once again, this is basically another 2/2 with shield. It's just basically another Crafty Smuggler. The Allegiant General Pride, a 2/3 for 2. When indirect damage is dealt to a unit, you may defeat a non-unique upgrade on it, and then on attack, if you have initiative, deal 2 indirect damage to a player. This you're not going to have all that often, but this could be really good, and it's going to encourage your opponents to, steer their indirect damage away from their shielded units onto more vulnerable units. And so I threw him in there. I like him. The TIE Bomber, a 0/4 in space for 2 that just reads deal 3 indirect damage to a defending player. Also, beautiful hyperfoil of that one. Love that one at hyperfoil. Cloud Rider, just because it's basically a piece of removal. Okay, let's take a look at our 2-cost actions, of which we have quite a few, actually, 2-cost actions. I'm running both Break-In and Surprise Strike, just for a little added reach to skew the math in our favor, especially towards the end of the game. I didn't see either of those cards, unfortunately. Standard cards that you might think: Force Choke, just an easy 5-point of damage removal card that can also be triggered with Boba Fett, which is nice. And then No Good to Me Dead, just to lock down heroes, really is what you have that in there for. Or, ships that get upgraded with heroes. The guy who won last night played New Boba and New Vader, and just had such a menacing space lane on turn 6. It was really nasty. Shoot down, deal 3 damage to a space unit. If that unit is defeated this way, you may deal 2 damage to a base. Just another cheap piece removal in the space lane that triggers with both Boba and Jango. And then Heartless Tactics. I didn't get a chance to play this card last night, so I don't know how good it actually is, but it's basically can be a cheaper turn, like a turn 1 waylay. I think this is probably just arguably better in a 2-player game, but I left it. Exhaust a unit and give it -2/-0 for this phase. So you do always get to exhaust it and lower its attack. But then if it has 0 power and it's not a leader, you can return it to its owner's hand. So it can be a bounce, once again, in Hyperfoil. Man, yeah, this card really pops. This one right here freaking pops in Hyperfoil. Just looks beautiful. Okay, let's move on to our upgrades. We're only running 2. Jetpack is pretty much always going to go in our resource row to be smuggled out. And then, Boba Fett's armor. We have a Boba Fett, and if we have to flip him here, which we hope we don't have to put him on the ground lane, but if we have to put him on the ground lane, Fett's armor can buy him a little more time. But then we also have 2 other Boba Fetts in the deck. So there's lots of places for Boba Fett's armor to be useful. Just like our 2-drops, we have a lot of 3-drops. And so, just in units, a big stack of 3-drops. I think that 3 might be the most important thing to hit in the game. And so we're running in our ground lane, Boba Fett, Del Meeko, and Toro. I hit Toro last night in the game was super strong and really enjoyed playing him. I guess we have no pilots in this slot. Well, I take that back. We have some pilots in it. They're just higher cost to put in ground lane. Delmico, I've said this several times, just a cool card to limit all of your opponents. And then these guys are really in here just because they're 3 resource 3/5s, right? Just bulky bodies to put in the ground lane. In terms of space units, we have a bunch. So we're going to run Punishing One, 3/4 for 3. That gets even better now. It has a higher chance to activate simply because, pilots are upgrades. We got Vrong's TIE Silencer, Von Riggs, 3 resource 3/4, that if you can get its power up, it can get Raid and Overwhelm. Yeah, I think this card's sweet. I really do. And it is, in and of itself, it's just a 3/3/4. But if this thing is out and you put the Boba on it, man, this thing is menacing because now it is a 7/8 with Overwhelm that attacks as an 8/8. Very strong. The 7th Fleet Defender because, well, Hyperfoil, and you can't not run a 7th Fleet. Disabling Fang and Hyperfoil, also just because, yeah, this can get rid of a leader that gets thrown out, or another pilot. Really wish I would have seen that one last night. The Mist Hunter, partially because, guys, I got it in Prestige, partially because we are looking for those thick bodies. So we have the 3 resource 3/4 here, non-hollow, but still in Prestige. And then on attack, if you played a Bounty Hunter or Pilot card this phase, you may draw a card. Actually think Mist Hunter's kind of an underrated card. I think it's pretty strong. 3 resource 3/4 is just good stats. And then, of course, the Elite P-38 Starfighter, probably the best card from set 3, and certainly very strong with both the Boba Fett and the Jango Fett. When it comes to 3-cost actions, we actually have a really big stack of 3-cost actions as well. 3 costs is really our sweet spot. We want to get to that 6-9 resource space. We can start playing a couple of these around. I'm not really going to explain either of these, the Merciless Contest or the No Bargain. I put them in basically every villainy deck because they just get better in Twin Suns. I'm going to pull this one out ahead of time. This is an upgrade, but they do something similar, make an opening, obviously not as good as Perilous Position. Sorry if they're not on screen. But even with that said, I basically want more than one Perilous Position. And so I put a make an opening in there. Also, regaining health is good. Outmaneuver, just so that we can, stall up whatever lane we're not focused on at the time. And obviously that's better. It hits every opponent, so that's good. Open fire just for removal, synergy with Boba Fett. Waylay for bounce, obviously. Power of the Dark Side. No, I think this is the best piece of removal in the game, and it is obviously not nearly as good as Merciless Contest or something inside of Twin Suns, but I do still usually run it in blue-black decks when I'm playing Twin Suns, just because, I don't know, I think Power of the Dark Side is just too good of removal to not run, so you have to have it. And then our last 2 in the action slots are Torpedo Barrage, just 3 resources, deal 5 indirect damage. With Fett on the board, 6 indirect damage is a lot of damage for an opponent to put around and mitigate on 3 resources. And then, of course, triple Dark Raid, because, yeah, we'd love to cheat out some of our bigger ships. Next to Perilous Position in the upgrade slot, we're just running a Frozen and Carbonite, because how could you not if you're running Boba and Jango? You gotta run them, okay? Okay, moving on to our 4 drops for units. We have another really large stack of 4-drop units. Let's pull out our ground units first. The Moff Gideon, partially because I have him in Hyperfoil, partially because he's just a stat stick. 4 resource, 5/4, that when this unit deals combat damage to an opponent's base, each unit that opponent plays costs 1 more. Oh my gosh, dude. Nobody wants to get hit by this guy, right? Nobody wants to get hit by this guy. Everyone's going to want to get rid of him. He's definitely going to draw aggro off of your base. In addition to that, Dengar, Iden Versio, and Forlom. Okay, so Forlom's removal. No reason to talk about him. Dengar and Iden, a 4/3 with a shield is not bad. A 5/4 for 4 is not bad. But both of them, obviously, these are things that we want to hit the ships that we played on turn 1 with, because this one costs 2, this one costs 3. If you put Dengar on someone, it's going to give it a +1/+2, and then attached unit gains on attack, deal 2 indirect damage to a player. If this unit is an underworld unit, deal 3 indirect damage instead. So ideally, we get an underworld ship out turn 1, turn 2, we put Dengar on it, we buff it, we attack, and we're dealing with Boba Fett 4 indirect damage. With Iden, last night I pulled off the Corvus. Iden had lost her shield. I threw Corvus down, got Iden on there, and redeployed a shield, which was really cool. Show that in a minute. But yeah, 3 resource for +3/+3 and a shield on something is pretty stinking good. In space, we're running this. I don't know how hot people are on this card, but I really like this card. So it's a 3 resource 3/4, or 4 resource 3/4. Deal 3 indirect damage to a player, exhaust each unit damaged this way. Now, obviously, this is a lot better, without Jango Fett, because Jango can just do this. But I really like this card, and so I put it in the deck. There's a little bit of redundancy. Perhaps if you've already used your Jango ability that round, you can then drop this, and if your opponent can't take all that damage to their base. But really what this card reads, and what a lot of your indirect damage reads very frequently, is this reads 4 resource 3/4, when played, deal 4 damage to your opponent's base. Because they're not going to want to take that on their units, especially in Twin Suns. They don't want their stuff exhausted up. IG 2000, 4 resource 3/4, so not high stats, overwhelm, and then when played, deal 1 damage to each of up to 3 units. Just a staple card. And also, guys, we got the Hollow Prestige variation of IG 2000. Fett's Fire Spray. I did get to get this boy down last night, and man, it's nasty. Super fun. When played on attack, deal 1 indirect damage to a player. If you control a Boba Fett as a unit, upgrade, or a leader, deal 2 indirect damage instead. Of course, played with Boba Fett, it's going to deal 3 indirect damage when it comes down, and 3 indirect damage when it attacks. Very strong. Very, very strong. Throw Boba Fett on it, which I did last night. Got an 8/8 Fett's Fire Spray. Yeah, felt good. The Decimator of Dissidents. This is a 4 resource 3/5, so not super impressive, but it does cost 1 less if you did indirect damage if you did indirect damage that phase. So if you get something down that deals indirect damage, say on turn 1, you could then play this theoretically on turn 2, and it does have Overwhelm. And then the Hunting Aggressor. This is the type of card that probably never sees play in a standard Star Wars Unlimited deck, but in the context of Twin Suns, you have room to fit it in. 3, 6, or 4 that just increases your indirect damage by 1. Okay, for 4 cost events, we only have 2, and I think that you could argue, pull out this guy and put in a Fell the Dragon. There's a good argument for that. I didn't do that because I like that card and I had a hyperfoil of it. But if I were you, yeah, maybe going back, I'd make sure that I ran Fell the Dragon. Lethal Crackdown just destroys anything that's not a leader unit. You take damage to your base. But with Close the Shield Gate, it's a good 5 resource combo to remove anything in the game, take no damage. And then take down something with 5 or less remaining HP. A lot of times there's stuff that's just weakened by your indirect damage or by point and click damage or your opponent's attacking into stuff. And takedown can take out even a leader. When we get to 5 costs, we still have a pretty good stack of 5 costs. When it comes to our units, they're going to be on the ground or potentially piloting. We actually only have 1 space unit at this point. There's not a ton in this region that are fantastic. So just going left to right, Bosk, no reason to explain him. Great card. Gideon Hask, we got Iden, Gideon, and Delmico in here. We're just kind of running the trio, right? Also, 5 resource 5/5, and a lot of times things are getting defeated all the time in Twin Suns. You get a lot more opportunities to throw out those XP counters. Let's be real. Maul is in here because I have the conference pack that allows me to run some of these blacked out leaders and blacked out cards, and so I try to run them when I can. I think you could replace Maul with a lot of things, but man, if Maul's one of your favorite cards, he's just one of your favorite cards, and I couldn't get the green version in because we're playing blue. Zuckuss, because he pairs up well with Forlom, and then Boba Fett. The new Boba Fett, once again, goes well with the Boba Fett's armor. He's a 5/4 for 5 with a shield, which is basically the same as Iden, right? She's a 4-3 for 4 with a shield. This is a 5-4 for 5 with a shield. But then on piloting for 2, you can give a +2/+3, and you may deal 1 damage to a unit. If attached unit is a transport, you can deal 2 damage instead. Works well with Boba Fett Leader 2, and I like that. For ships, we are only running Corvus, a new ship, 5 resource, 4/5 with Restore 2. Restore being like the only way we're even healing in this deck is like this card. I did get to heal with it last night when I played it, which was fun. And then when played, you can attach a friendly pilot unit or upgrade to this unit. You defeat all upgrades that are on the pilot, remove all damage from it, and put it on this ship. Like I said yesterday, I got to play Iden as a 4 resource 4/3 with a shield, attack with it, deal 4 damage to an opponent's base. They popped my shield. I played Corvus, swapped Iden over, and because she is actually being equipped to Corvus, she got to trigger her when she equips ability and gave a shield. Suddenly, yeah, I had an 8/8 over there. Or no, she gives +3/+3. I had a 7/8 over there with Restore 2 and a shield, which felt great. When it comes to actions, we're really running removal. So out of the airlock is a new one, give a unit -5/-5. This is a very similar to a Fell the Dragon, kind of, or I guess it's probably equal to like a Vanquish or No Glory Only Results. It's very likely going to remove on the turn if you're on 5 resources, anything that you want to target with it. No Glory Only Results is probably my favorite card from the new set. You just take a unit and then defeat it on your side, and then Vanquish, of course. And we got the Hyper Foil of Vanquish, defeat a non-leader unit. Commandeer is a new card, and it's interesting. Take control of a non-leader vehicle unit that costs 6 or less without a pilot on it. So there's a ton of stipulation there, but I think in Twin Suns, it's extremely likely that you're going to see this. If you do, ready it at the start of the next regroup phase, return that unit to its owner's hand. So I think the really powerful part here is, on turn 4, when someone plays a 5-cost vehicle, you can commandeer that vehicle before they can put a pilot in it, before they can put a leader in it. Attack them with that vehicle because you unexhaust it, and then at the end of the regroup phase, you just pop it back to their hand, and it's like they lost 5 resources, and you got to use their unit for a round. Really like Commandeer. It has stipulations, and it seems like it has a lot, but I think that it's pretty common that you're going to see that scenario. Okay, 6 drops, a lot less here. We're coming towards the end of the deck. As we go through, we're playing Vader, a 6 resource 7/7, but more importantly, a 3-cost upgrade for +3/+3, and on attached unit gains on attack, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. If a unit is defeated this way, you may deal 1 damage to a unit or a base. Allows you to ping damage around, and Boba Fett triggers really well with that. It's the only ground unit that we have. We are also running Ruthless Raider and Fett's Fire Spray because, wow, those 2 cards are too not good not to run. In our actions, we're running a Change of Heart because you can steal 1 unit's thing and run it into another opponent's unit, which is really good, or just find a way to take an opponent's unit, stack a bunch of damage on one opponent with their unit and yours. Controlling where your opponents go in Twin Suns, especially at the end of the game, is so powerful, guys. Rival's Fall, just to defeat something, and then, of course, Planetary Bombardment. We don't always have a capital ship out, but when we do, dang, this card is bonkers. We got it used against us last night, and it combos with another card that I'm sure you could guess we're going to run in this deck as well. In our 7 drops, we are running Count Dooku because I have the blacked out version and because it's just a strong card. 7 resource 5/4 with a shield that defeats a unit with 4 or less remaining HP. When it comes into play, it's basically, a 5/4 shielded body with a takedown on it. Cad Bane, this one's a really cool card. I'm not going to explain it because it did come out in set 3, but yeah, just a really strong card and certainly something that you want to leverage in your deck. When we come to 8 drops, we have 2 ground units, Supreme Leader Snoke and the Emperor Palpatine. Emperor Palpatine does get better, really strong with Jango and Boba Fett, and then Supreme Leader Snoke is just so oppressive in Twin Suns because it hits all of your opponents. In the space lane, you guessed it, Devastator. This one, not Hyper Foil, but a beautiful hyperspace Devastator nonetheless. Love this card. Last night, I got to throw this out with Jango's ability. I locked down all 4 units on one opponent's board, both units on another opponent's board, and I cleared 3 battle droids and locked down a capital ship on my other opponent's board. Devastated out, 4 indirect damage to each opponent, and I got to direct that damage, and everything I dealt 1 damage to, I exhausted. It was crazy. This card flipped the game in a Twin Suns match. Holy cow, this with Jango Fett is so busted in Twin Suns, and absolutely just so much fun to play. The only 8-drop event we're going to play is Super Laser Blast. Now we're into 9s. Crate Dragon and Avenger. Really no reason to talk about either of these. Both very good. I'll say this again, and I've said it many times. Avenger, of course, less good. Less good in Twin Suns, but still a very strong card, especially if you're trying to close out the game. And the last card in the set, in the deck, is Annihilator. And of course, I have this one in Prestige, which is why I had to play it. It's a new one, 11 cost, so you're probably not going to get this out very often in Twin Suns. Let's just be real. You could replace this card with a lot of other things, but I love it. So 11 cost, 12 delve, that says, when played and when defeated, you may defeat an enemy unit. If you do, search its controller's deck and hand for each card with that unit's name and discard them. Obviously, you're never going to hit more than 1 in this case, right? This is an anti-control card. You're never going to hit more than 1 with this. So just because, you know, it's a singleton format. But what this does read is 11 resource, 12 that removes a unit when it comes into play and when it leaves play in Twin Suns. Sometimes that's just enough. Okay, that's all the cards that are in it. Let me go ahead to our upper screen and you can take a look if you want to scroll through this real quick in case you're wanting to build this deck and you don't have all the cards out in front of you. Let me just scroll through this real quick. You can kind of come back to this section of the video if this is something you want to build for yourself. I think there's lots of adjustments, once again, that you could make to it. I think the logical adjustment, Fell the Dragon, in place of this guy right here, makes a lot of sense. I think, there's a lot of choices that I made with this deck that were kind of snap choices because I was throwing the deck together, looking through my binders. But I think that it played really well. It was super fun. I got to play some of my big villainy, Sithy stuff, without a force focus. And I still felt like I was playing Jango and Boba. And holy crap, if Devastator, along with Jango Fett and Boba Fett, are not just absolutely busted, so stinking strong. Okay, guys, there's the list. Once again, the name of the deck is The Family That Hunts Together Stays Together. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me go back and take you to my camera here. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, would you consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon, and giving me a thumbs up on this video? Or let me know in the comments below what other decks you'd like to see me make, and I'd love to, experiment and do something with them. I've had a lot of fun with these father-son decks the past couple of weeks. Hope you've enjoyed it as well. Thanks for watching this video. We'll see you in the next one.